Welcome to this month's PSA with Chief Burghardt. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're in the holiday season, November, going into December here, and I'd like to let our viewers know about some safety concerns and things that our viewers can do to make sure that they stay safe and don't create a fire.
Yeah, absolutely. So holiday season is a big time where people bring extra people into their houses. And because of that, we need to take some extra safety, some extra care to make sure that everyone can be safe around the holidays. So one of the biggest things would be decorating. So everyone's changing over from their Halloween decorations to Thanksgiving and then switching over to Christmas decorations. A lot of extension cord use with that. So extension cord use, we have to be very careful not to put too many things plugged into that one cord where it can cause heat to be built up. So we need to make sure that we've got enough extension cords and that our outlets can handle the load of what's being plugged in.
Okay. And with that, not only do you have the items of the lights and things like that, but now you're going to come into some cooking different foods, right? So we like to celebrate and try different dishes and things like that, but that also involves quite a bit of safety concerns. One that comes to my mind quickly is going to be the deep fried turkey.
Absolutely. So making more food, making more quantities of food, and different foods that we don't cook every year. So like the deep fried turkey is an excellent example of how there's fires caused every year and how there's people burned every single year. So a lot of care needs to be taken with deep frying turkeys. You need to make sure that your bird is fully thawed out, 100% thawed out, before you put it into the very hot oil. Make sure that that cooking vessel is away from the house, not in the garage, not underneath an overhang, not on a deck or a surface that can also ignite if it were to boil over. And then make sure that you're using the proper appliances to both put the turkey in and to remove it out so that you don't get burned from that scalding hot oil when you get close to it.
If they're having a dish on the cooktop, they ran outside to check the turkey or whatever, and now you have this small cooking fire happening, and they decide that they're going to extinguish the fire themselves, how would they go about that?
Good question. So anything that is cooking, we say don't use water. So anything that could have oil or grease or it's making its own oils and greases that are released during cooking, using water can spread that fire. It could splash out of a pan, it could splash onto the cooktop, and then create a bigger fire than it was before. A fire extinguisher is always the right answer. But there are special kinds of extinguishers just for cooking. So at almost every hardware store, if you go to the fire extinguisher section, there'll be some that are labeled K or Class K, and the K is meant for kitchen. And some of these extinguishers look almost like a very large hairspray can. And it has a dispenser on top that almost looks like a spray paint nozzle. And what those do is they put out more of a foam, and it doesn't get dry chemical everywhere. If you need to put out a fire, putting out the fire is the most important piece right after your life safety, making sure that you're safe. But if it's a very small fire and you want to prevent a lot of cleanup afterwards, these specialized kitchen extinguishers will put a blanket of foam over what you're cooking, and then you can wipe it up when it's all cooled off and you're done. Or you can use your standard dry chemical extinguisher and just prepare to vacuum and dust and clean for a period of time afterwards. We just want to make sure you're not getting too close that you're going to get burned and you're not adding water that's going to flare up, cause a fire to come up in your face, or get anyone injured from it.
And if there is a fire in the oven, just to remind our viewers, leave the door closed, turn the oven off. You know, I'm all about calling 911 and making sure that everything is safe after you've maybe had an event like that. The fire department is more than happy to come out and double check everything and make sure that there's no other heat sources that are still going.
Yeah, absolutely. Accidents happen, things happen, but you brought up a good point, leaving that oven door closed. There is oxygen that can get in there. There's air that gets in there to help the heating process with your oven. But when you open it, you give it a very large amount of air that comes in all at one time. So if you see a fire, turn off your oven or your stove if you can safely do so. Leave the door shut. If you have an extinguisher available, get that ready, and then you can open up quickly and spray it in there. If you don't, get everybody out, evacuate, call 911.
Great. And the big thing with cooking safety is all of those things that you're prepared. You're going to be using different maybe types of cooking materials, like I said, the deep fryer, or maybe you're putting a very large bird in the oven and it just fits in there. So again, that is really important to cover that. We talked about the Christmas tree lights and Christmas tree safety, and a lot of people still are using the live trees. And with that comes the concern of making sure that it has water, when did it stop taking water, all of those things, and that they're not near a heat source.
Yeah, absolutely. So Christmas trees are something you don't normally have in your house. Live trees aren't typically inside of buildings at any other time of the year. So there's a couple of considerations that are available to help people give good guidance on how to stay safe in your house. So one of those goes back to that very first topic of how many things are plugged into your extension cord. Are you one of the people that likes putting at least 1,000 lights on your tree? The newer lights have gotten a lot safer than they have been before. The newest LED lights put out very, very little heat compared to the old incandescent or halogen lights. But we still need to be safe with them. So Christmas trees in general, we should make sure that they have water at every given point. So if you're using a live tree, as soon as you're bringing it in, making sure it has water instantly, and it's going to suck up that water and continue letting it take up as much water as it can. If a tree ever goes dry, it can perform, it has like a self-preservation act where it will cap off and let the sap drip to the bottom. And once all that sap gets to the bottom where the cut part is, it won't take up any more water. From that point on, the moisture dries out because the heat's running, the furnace is running, and that's taking the moisture out of all the needles. And now it's going to become a fire hazard as time goes on. So always give it water, keep it watered. If you notice that the needles are falling at a significant rate, anytime you touch it, there's a lot of needles that fall off, it's time to consider, should this be in my house anymore? And ultimately it has to be for safety. So if you want to keep it up longer, you want to keep it up for the whole holiday season until January 5th or 6th, whatever the date is, but on December 27th, it's starting to look pretty brown and needles are falling off, it's time to remove it from your house.
Right. And just to remind our viewers that you want to make sure that when you are lighting your tree, that you're home. Lights on, you're home. Lights off, you're gone. Now, some people also use a timer as a reminder, which is a great, great idea if you want to get a timer for yourself so that you're not rushing out in the morning and, oh, shoot, yeah, the lights are on the tree.
Absolutely. So UL, Underwriters Laboratories, makes some verifications that electronic devices are good to be used in your home. They're safe to be used in your home. And some of these timers have like trip fault protection in them, so that if there were too many lights, if there was an animal, a cat, something chewed on your wires that caused a short, that device will actually shut off the power to the lights for you before you even caught it. So making sure you're using good listed devices to keep electrical safety high in mind.
Great. And I'm hoping that all of our viewers are not putting a live flame on the tree as it used to be. People put candles on trees, so we don't want that to happen. But now, again, with the holiday season coming up and a lot of people like different scents in their house, we've really hopefully gone away from a lot of candles to more of the plug-in type scenting.
Yeah, absolutely. The candles should always be kept a good distance away from a live tree. And even for the fake trees, the ones you can buy pre-lit or that you put the lights on them, they are typically treated with some version of a fire retardant, or they're made with a fire retardant material. But to be extra safe, we should always keep those candles a distance away from everything. Same goes with any kind of ornaments. If you put garland up or use burlap or any kind of other decorations, maybe on a mantle or on a table, and you have devices on top of there, be careful about the candles being on top of them. If they get knocked over or the wind blows and some of that wax starts dripping off a little pathway and the flame can get out of its container, we need to be very careful that we're not spreading the fire to something else.
Decades ago, you were using candles if you had a power outage. And I'd like to urge our viewers to make sure that they have that flashlight, that is charged, and use a flashlight instead of a candle if you have a power outage.
Yeah, absolutely. Having light is good to have on tap when the power goes out, which happens pretty infrequently. But having something available, flashlights are very, very affordable. For a few dollars, you can buy one. Check your batteries twice a year, like when you're checking your smoke detectors. if you have to use a candle, or you like using the candle just like you mentioned for the scent, for the ambiance, that's okay to do. Just make sure you're doing it in a safe manner.
Right.
Always blow it out before you leave. It needs to be out before any human leaves that space where it is.
Yes, and with the advent of warmers and things like that, we can get away from that open flame. And I want to obviously let our viewers know that anyone that is on oxygen, they should not be having a candle near them.
Absolutely, no open flames. If anyone's on oxygen, an oxygen generator, oxygen from a bottle, absolutely do not have an open flame anywhere near that.
Great. I just wanted to touch quickly then on any carbon monoxide problems, carbon monoxide detectors, what is the cause of carbon monoxide, and just making sure that people are aware of that there are detectors out there and that everyone should have one.
Yeah, absolutely. So carbon monoxide is a chemical process, a leftover chemical from incomplete combustion. So anything that burns a fuel can create carbon monoxide. So it can be your car, a lawnmower, a weed whacker, a leaf blower, snow blowers, from your furnace, from your water heater. Now, if they're gas-fired appliances, if you have an electric water heater, that can't create carbon monoxide. But anything that burns natural gas or propane, gasoline, kerosene, diesel, all of those items can create carbon monoxide. So what it does is that it reacts inside of your body that it doesn't allow oxygen to get to where it needs to be. Typically, every home should have at least one carbon monoxide detector, and a multifamily is required to have at least one in the living space. And it's just going to monitor for this gas to see if it's in the home. It can cause you to feel ill at higher levels. So flu-like symptoms, headache, nausea, blurred vision, dizziness, those kinds of things, but typically after a period of time. The safest way to be is to have one of these, at least one detector in your home, so that you can be alerted if there's carbon monoxide in your house.
Great. Well, I appreciate you coming in for this PSA for the holiday season, and I wish our viewers that they have a safe and happy holiday.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And from all of us at Hartford Fire and Rescue, we wish you a happy holiday season.